Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Boiling Point podcast. This is episode 127, and this is officially our season 5 finale. Pastor Gavin, 5 seasons now.
Yeah. Wow. It's hard to believe the podcast has continued that long.
I know it's absolutely crazy. Of course, Pastor Gavin started his own show. I believe a couple of weeks or a month or two before we started the Boiling Point podcast, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And now this is 127 episodes of just the Boiling Point podcast. But if you add our Simmer Down segments, we're over 130. If you add our Old Testament surveys, that takes us over 160. If you add Mariana, the addition of Mariana to the team and her Watchdog report, Mariana and Christie's Simply Speaking, that puts us well over 200 pieces of content. So that is, I think, amazing and astonishing to have that kind of video library after 5 years. It's amazing to me, and it's really awesome to see how far we've made it.
Yeah.
And of course, Pastor Gavin, like I said, you got to figure the man averages at least minimum of 50 episodes per year. Okay, so that puts us, and plus he does other ones in between because there's only like 2 weeks. I think he doesn't do one that he misses a week right at the beginning of January. I think he takes off like right around Christmas because he always does one for Christmas too. And then there's always one other week I think that you don't post an episode, but that's 50 episodes average. Plus you post some other shorts and stuff from time to time too. So that puts your count at likely between 250 and 300 pieces of content.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of that, but that's true.
Yeah. So, and then you add both of our libraries together, Pastor Gavin, and you're talking about a library that is well over 500, potentially over 550 or so different pieces of content. And that's impressive.
Yeah.
So it's amazing. And now we decided not to do it at Mount Olivet like we have done in some of our past seasons because I'll be shooting a documentary, helping to shoot a documentary for Mount Olivet. And because I'm going to be busy doing that, I don't think that Pastor Gavin nor myself are going to have the time to sit down and do an episode there. So we're doing the season finale here tonight. Pastor Gavin, this is going to be the 149th year.
Yes. Yeah.
This year's the 149th year, and we're making the documentary to release next year for the 150th year.
Right.
And of course, it's in Dillsburg. Anybody watching this, because I'm going to be posting it the day we're shooting this. It's actually July 24th, the Thursday before. Tomorrow starts it. I'll be posting this right after we shoot it, so will be late on the night of the 24th. But so that goes on. It happens in Dillsburg. And if you're in the area and you want to go to church or you want to check it out and see what it's about, they do allow visitors into the campground during camp week, especially for the church service. And you can't miss it.
So it's nightly at 7:30 p.m.
Yes, church service every night.
Yeah, right. Now, beginning this coming Friday, there will be a hymn sing, and that's at 7:30, and then every night following at 7:30 for the next, following out the 10 days of camp, every night at 7:30 is a service. And then Monday through Friday at 10 a.m., I teach the adult Bible class. And then, we have Monday through Friday, we have Bible school for the kids. And the youth have their own group at 6, I think it's 6 p.m.
Yeah, 6 or 6:30. Yeah, it was always, at least when I went, it was always about an hour before church started because we
a couple of years ago they moved it back another half hour to
give people a little bit
more time.
Yeah. It was not going from youth group to church service, like, because we usually wouldn't wrap up until we heard the 10-minute bell. So that would really only give us 10 minutes. You figure you got to use the bathroom if you're hungry and you want a snack, get something to drink. You know what I mean? 10 minutes really pushed us to try and get going to church. Plus, you always had to get ready, really for youth group. If you wanted to wear anything nice or look nice, really you had to get ready for youth group because there was no time. So I think that was probably a good idea. And also,
Yeah.
they do events. There's a spaghetti dinner on one of the weeks. There's the talent show on Friday night, the bonfire on Saturday night. Both nights, I will be of those nights. I will be up there, and we will also be shooting on location for the documentary. And before I get bombarded with a bunch of messages from people from the cottage, please understand that while we will be shooting at the campground, of course, any footage that includes any minors or any children will obviously not be included or will be blurred out. Like obviously, we know the rules and we're going to protect everybody. It's not going to, so you don't have any fear. Even if you're the kids running by, we can easily chop that part out. Okay, it's not the end of the world. So if your kids end up on camera, don't freak out because it doesn't mean that they're going to end up in the final cut. We will obviously take out any of the minor children, especially if their parents don't want it. And teenagers will have a form to fill out if they want to do an interview or be on camera. And of course, anybody who does an interview, which we're hoping many of the campgrounders do. I don't know how many from Mount Olivet actually watch the Boiling Point podcast. I know some do. We'll have release forms for that, and of course, we'll have signs up anywhere we're filming in the campground public. So if you don't want to even be on camera, then you don't have to be.
So next year will be our sesquicentennial. That's, sesquicentennial means 150th anniversary.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
So you learn something new every day.
So our, camp meeting, well, our country was founded by people that had, firm faith and belief in God and in his son, Jesus Christ. And I think that's one thing that has helped lead to America being blessed by God, because a lot of people were believers in Christ and loved the Lord, and righteousness exalts a nation. Proverbs 15 says, but sin is a reproach or disgrace to any people. So there were a couple different revivals of biblical Christianity. There was one that took place called the Great Awakening in colonial America before the American Revolution.
Yeah.
And then in the 1800s, there arose a movement beginning mostly in Kentucky and Tennessee. There was one revival in particular called the Cane Ridge Revival. And people would come and camp out in tents. And I always like to say it was really intense, But they would camp out in their tents for several days and have church services, revival services. And typically there would be pastors who would speak from various denominations, but their unity was found in the gospel itself. And so a lot of people got saved, and the movement kind of caught on. So in 1876, the Church of the Brethren, I believe it was, in Dillsburg, began the Mount Olivet camp meeting, but it wasn't called that at that time.
Yes.
And in the early 1900s, like I'm thinking 1901 to 1902 or 3, somewhere in around that time period, the camp meeting movement had been waning. Like a lot of people just, weren't interested in it like they were at one time. And attendance had dwindled. So the church that started the camp meeting was going to close it down. So my great grandfather and a couple other people and others who were a part of it said, hey, let's keep it going. So if I remember correctly, I think my great grandfather purchased the tabernacle, and somebody else bought part of the land, and then someone else bought another portion of the land, and they named it the Mount Olivet Union Camp Meeting Association. So, but it actually began in 1876. So, with 2026 coming up, that is our 150th anniversary. So it's just the time to seek after God and worship Him, and also to get together with family and friends and see everybody. And so it's like the Word of God and fellowship. So that's what it's about. Yeah.
Yep. And I've been going there since I was a kid.
Me
And
too. Yeah.
yeah. And
Ever since I was a baby. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and the tabernacle actually, well, again, this will be part of our documentary, so I won't give away too much. But the tabernacle is actually one of the first actual structures of the campground. If I'm not, unless my facts are incorrect, and I don't believe that they are.
Probably,
The
yeah.
tabernacle was really the first, and it wasn't even a tabernacle; it was a pavilion, much like I mean, much on a larger scale than the pavilion we have down by the field, and the volleyball net court. But that's how it started out. We actually have a picture of it, and it's just a roof with sticks, not sticks, but like, not really framing or anything, just kind of sticks holding up a roof.
Probably logs.
Yeah, sticks holding up a roof, and then just the seating and stuff underneath the roof. That's how the tabernacle started, and it's in the same exact place that the current tabernacle is right now.
And over the years, people stopped camping out in their tents, and they started to build little cabins. We call them cottages.
Yep.
And so,
and it is unique.
A few years ago, we had. Oh, okay.
No, go ahead, please. No, please go ahead.
A few years ago, we had some Messianic Jewish believers who came to sing. And, to our listeners, Messianic Jews are Jews who believe in Jesus. And when Christianity began to spread from Jerusalem in the early, in the first century, it was all Jewish to begin with. So these Messianic Jews, I was showing them the campground, and they said, oh, this is sort of like a Sukkot, which is the Hebrew term for the Feast of Tabernacles, because you would build temporary dwelling places and stay at them and have sort of a festival, honoring the Lord. And so it's kind of like similar to that. You go and you stay in a temporary dwelling for a period of time and worship the Lord and fellowship together. So, I've been going there all my life.
And these cottages, let's paint a little picture for everybody, Pastor Gavin. These cottages are definitely not very big. A few of them, some of the newer ones are obviously very big, where the one that my family has is a little bit on the larger side, which is nice for me with the wheelchair. But the majority of them, especially around the tabernacle, are much smaller, and there's a kitchen, but no plumbing. There's no plumbing in the cottages. So there's no running water. There's no bathrooms. We actually have, the campground now has, plumbing bathrooms and shower houses and stuff, but none of that exists inside the cottages.
Yeah, I like to tell people my cottage has running water. I got to run and get it and bring it back to the cottage.
And of course, it has the spring, the well, the fresh spring water that people use to drink. And then there is water spigots around the campground for if you need cooking water or washing water or stuff like that as well. But then the kitchen is one of the buildings that are there, and that's where like the spaghetti dinner and a lot of the events happen during camp meeting, especially anything that involves food. So it's
we call it the fellowship hall.
Fellowship hall,
kind of like a dining hall,
Yeah, it's a dining hall, but yes, it's a fellowship hall, and the campground is really grown and stuff, and I think I hope it continues to do so over the next couple of years. And that's what the documentary is about, because there's a lot of history on Mount Olivet, but would it surprise you, Pastor Gavin, to learn that very, very little of it is actually digital? It's all
that doesn't surprise me. Yeah.
It's all pamphlets, articles.
Yeah. Newspaper
little books. Yeah, newspaper clippings. Nothing's digital. So that's why I'm excited about the Mount Olivet documentary, because it's going to be great to have the history of Mount Olivet digital.
Yeah.
So now we don't have to worry about when something goes bad, or if we lose a newspaper article or something, because we'll have the documentary.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's part of preserving the history. I mean, at this day and age, I think it's time for Mount Olivet's history to be preserved in the digital world. So I think it's going to be great. It's going to take a lot of work. I'm not doing it alone. Shout out to Isaac and Will and some others who will be assisting us and helping us. And of course, Pastor Gavin's already helped. He's the president of the board. So, he's obviously already been involved, as is the board of Mount Olivet. So it's a full, team project. It's not going to be any one person or any, just a group of people. It's going to take as many people as possible to get this pulled off. It's going to be quite the project.
Now, I was just thinking there are thousands of camp meetings around the country, like that are still in existence. Now, ours is one of the oldest, but there's one like it's if you take Route 30 and you go down to York, then you head east. There's a town called Columbia, and then there's another borough called Washington Borough. And like down and around that area, there's a camp meeting. And there's I can think of a couple others too that are still in existence in Pennsylvania. They have them in different states too. They're still going.
And there's other, and it's not just like the type of camps that you were talking about with Mount Olivet, with cottages and stuff, but there's also, children camps and summer camps that are also, that are like that, especially here in Pennsylvania too. I had just met someone through our coverage of the Northern York school board meetings. I met someone who knew me back when I was, maybe 10 from a camp called Camp Ulijua. Are you familiar with Camp Ulijua, Pastor Gavin?
Yeah, I've been by there before. I've seen it already. Never attended there, but it's nice.
Yeah, that's. Oh, you haven't actually had the chance to stay there?
No.
Man, I gotta.
I think I went and picked someone up there. My wife and I dropped somebody off or something. I forget what, but
yeah, we'll maybe have to look into that. Maybe a Boiling Point podcast. The whole company, like a company retreat, when they do a Camp Ulijua thing, because they do things all year long, winter, summer. They do it all year long. Well, summertime is usually for the kids, but they do stuff during the winter time as well.
Yeah.
But I had just met somebody from there, and that's another. It's a great place. It's humongous. When you just think typical summer camp, really, if you want to picture it, just think typical summer camp. And they have also made expansions to it, and it's also a great place. Believe it or not, Pastor Gavin, at that camp that week, I had gone during only 1 year that I go during summer as a kid. And then I had gone with my family a couple times, like the church that we went to, the Camp Hill Church of God, had rented it or whatever, and the whole church went up to Camp Ulijua. And I had gone a couple times in the wintertime with my family under that, but only once in the summertime as a kid. And believe it or not, Pastor, that week was the first time that I gave my life to Jesus Christ.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, that there's something about getting away from the usual order of things and into the woods, and I think it makes you more conscious that God made everything.
Yeah,
when you're in the woods and you see the beautiful things He made, and
and also I think especially for kids in the summertime, gets them away from. It gets them away from their families. It gets them out of their normal routines. I think it really, when I was a kid, now I had to go, my stepdad went with me, to be able to help me and stuff. But it still put me on my heels, you know what I mean? To be in that setting. So, and I think it was really good for me to do that.
Yeah.
So
my wife got saved at Mount Olivet.
Yeah.
And and I remember my late Aunt Ida, she was telling me she got saved up there in the tabernacle. Yeah.
I am not crying, everybody. I promise. I have sweat running into my eyes because it is hot in Pennsylvania today.
Oh, it got up to the 90s. Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. So I am sweating right now doing this podcast.
Yeah, I'm gonna get a drink here. This is my Boiling Point podcast mug here. So
yes, absolutely, the new Boiling Point podcast.
So what's going on? Like, we have a merch store. What's going on? Like, what do you have in there now?
Yeah. So
you update it and change it from time to time.
Yes, absolutely. So while you take a sip of your new engraved Boiling Point podcast tumbler that will soon be available to everybody else. Now he has a custom one. Pastor Gavin has a custom one. Everybody won't.
It has my name on it.
Yes. Everybody will not be able to get their names engraved on it unless you're willing to spend a little bit more. It is.
But it will have the insignia, right?
Yes. It will be engraved with the insignia, and it will have the Boiling Point podcast listed underneath it. And of course, right in the middle of our advertisement, I'm, you know, my eyes watering. So let's bring the storefront up full screen. Now, the tumblers are not available on the storefront. They are not available on the storefront yet. They're going to be offered through a different company. Check out the Humankind on Facebook. That's the Humankind on Facebook. That's who's going to be making our new custom tumblers as soon as we can offer them, which will be very soon here. I'm hoping by the fall time we will be able to have a design and start offering them. But as you said, Pastor, we have the Bonfire storefront, and currently we have the new eagle design created by our graphic artist Robbie H. Doesn't Robbie H do such a great job on our logos? I mean, he's the one that made the original eagle, the Boiling Point podcast eagle we made. He made the Freedom Eagle, is what we're calling it here, as you can see. It's available in various styles, in various colors. This one is double-sided, and it also has a little extra on it. But he also created the eagle for the store for the that we use, the Watchdog Report logo. He created that. So our graphic artist is just amazing. He also made the American Cross, as I like to refer to it, Pastor. He also made that. Design. Yeah, it's awesome. It's just amazing. And of course, we have it on our Second Amendment design apparel. We have Second Amendment design and First Amendment. The Second Amendment has the complete text on the back, and then our American Cross on the front. And then, of course, our First Amendment apparel has We the People with the Boiling Point podcast lettering logo on the front, and then the full text on a scroll on the back of our shirt. We also have tie-dye, 2 different styles of tie-dye. Podcast pants are new. Shorts are new. Windbreaker. I know it's summertime, but pick it up ahead of the wintertime. We have yard flags now, duffel bags. So see, those are just a few of the new products, and Bonfire is always adding a bunch of new products.
Yeah.
So,
cool. And anytime, thanks for that update.
Yeah, absolutely. So make sure you go check out. That's bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point podcast, and pick some of that up. And also leave a comment. Do you have a favorite? Pastor?
Like the favorite apparel?
Yeah, like apparel or design. Do you have a favorite?
Well, I like the cross with the flag on it. I think that's
the American Cross. Yeah, it's definitely.
I like our eagle design too.
Yes. I mean, that's why I said it's really
like
hard.
How it unites like God and patriotism together.
Yeah.
Christ.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the hashtags we use. God, family, country.
Right. Yeah.
Which is actually the correct order, if I'm not mistaken, right, Pastor?
That's right. Yeah.
So there it is. All right. So now we got the little advertisements in the middle of our episode there. Thank you for your help there, Pastor Gavin. And I'll be cutting that out so that we can share that out and use it in other episodes as well. Because we are trying to advertise more, and we're also looking for sponsors. We're trying to grow the Boiling Point podcast. So visit the storefront. Even if you don't have money to pick something up, you can share it out. And of course, we are looking for sponsors. If you own a small business or a medium business, or if you own a large business, hit us up. We would love to be in business together and see if we can make a deal. So that's also going on as well as we continue to expand. Pastor, now that we're 25 minutes in, let's talk real quick. Well, not real quick, but a little bit about what we originally were going to talk about here in our season 5 finale, and that's the recent No Kings protest.
Yeah, the No Kings protests.
First, let's off. If I could, Pastor, before you begin, if I could, let's just give the left a round of applause for having a successful protest. Finally, the left has a successful protest. America is still without a king. Mm-hmm. So we can applaud them for that, Pastor. We can thank them that America is still without a king.
Right. Yeah. So that's what they were.
That's a plus.
Protesting for. Yeah, I like what Trump said. When he was asked about the No Kings protests, he said, "Yeah, I'm not a king. I mean, if I were the king, I could do whatever I want, but I'm having an H." He says a hell of a time. I don't like to use that, but I, I have a heck of a time getting things, passed through, and I got to try to get Congress to do it. And it's obvious he's not a king.
Yeah,
There are always. My understanding is the main thing that the protesters were protesting is his immigration crackdown and deportation actions. Well, the American people voted to close the border, to seal off the border, to stop illegal immigration. So Camel Hair Harris would have continued it. But so Trump specifically ran on that policy to close down the border, to control it so that there's only legal immigration, and to deport illegal aliens, especially the criminals. Now, it'd be impossible to find them all, I guess, but you can start with the criminals and the gang members and all that. So I applaud President Trump for his effort to control our border. And John, you and I have locks on our doors and on our windows. Why do we do that? Well, because, there's some bad people in this world. So you want to control who comes into your house, and you want to keep bad people out, especially those that would break in because they want to plunder. Well, that's how it is with our country. Shouldn't we have enough love for our own people to want to protect our people? And so they say things like, our country was built on immigration. Yeah, but not the illegal kind, you know.
yeah.
So,
And
and
now,
and it's really a very teeny tiny portion of the population that's as far leftist radical as they were, that that were protesting. They represent a very teeny tiny minority view. So
yeah.
the
Now,
American people, through the democratic process in our republic, they voted for Trump to do that. So
yeah,
to say that he's acting like a king, no, he's within the realm of his legal authority,
yeah.
and
Um,
somebody had to do something about it.
yes, yeah. It's been completely ridiculous, and anybody who thinks that it's not been, you should really do some hard research into it, and you can find out how bad it's actually been. Pastor, what does the Bible have to say about countries and borders and immigration? I don't mean to put you on the spot. I forgot to mention
Right.
this to you
No,
in
that's
our
okay.
before we were talking ahead of time.
Yeah, well, if you read the scriptures, borders of countries are spoken of. They're very clearly defined. In fact, God laid out the borders of the land of Canaan, from the Mediterranean Sea on the west to the different portions to the Jordan River, and to the Euphrates River. That there's a part of the river that runs northward. God laid out the borders, and then after the people of Israel, well, before I say that, let me say this. In Acts chapter, I think it's chapter 17, the Apostle Paul's on Mars Hill, and he talks about how God made of, all men of one blood to dwell upon the face of the earth. And it says he set the boundaries and the times of their habitations. So in other words, he determined where the boundaries were, where they would live, and the time period that they would live in. And so it's just a part of the order of things. There are boundaries, and God established that, and that's part of what a country is. And then when the children of Israel conquered the land of Canaan, which God gave them, he laid out different regions where the different tribes would live. So, the tribe of Benjamin had a certain area, the tribe of Judah had a certain area, the tribe of Zebulun, they determined where tribal boundaries would be by lot. They cast lots, and sort of like rolling a dice, sort of. And so, yeah, borders are very important. They're just part of having a nation. But there's some people. It seems like there are people who are very powerful and influential that have this idea that they need to mix things up. So instead of having the United States where it's predominantly people of European descent who are more Christian, Judeo-Christian in background, we need to mix it up, and get other people that are not of that same lineage and not of that same ideology, that have a different way of looking at things. And you need certain things in a culture that unite your culture. Sometimes you hear, oh, our diversity is our strength. Well, that can be true in some instances, but no, our unity is our strength too. Like one nation under God, indivisible, right?
Yeah.
With liberty and justice for all.
Pastor Gavin, if I could narrow that just a little bit, the idea of diversity in our culture is good. Yes, it is, but diversity within a set of belief systems.
Yeah.
It's good to discuss like what you and I do, Pastor. We've done plenty of episodes where we discuss and debate what the scripture means.
Yeah.
That's the kind of like having different ideas, but within Christianity. Sorry to put such a fine point on it, but having diversity within the belief structure of Christianity, that's what's good for the country.
Right. Yeah, there are certain things that a country and a culture and a people need to be united around. And if there's no like basic essential unity in their worldview, a lot of times that leads to civil war and tumult, and the things you see going on in Syria and in the Middle East, and because there's too much diversity. There's not enough unity in those cultures, so there are factions that rise up against others, and you have civil war, and you have some militants that it's a mess. So we need some unity in our country.
Yes. Similar to what we've seen with some of the protests, which are called riots here in this country. It's a lot of that looks very similar to that. Believe it or not, it's almost scary looking sometimes. Now, I did say within Christianity, but of course, from our other episodes, in case you haven't seen any other episodes, I don't mean to disclude people, Jewish people or Catholic people or other people who believe different sects of different Christianity. I don't mean any of that. I mean, but it all has to come from like the same kind of belief system, and everything that I just named kind of comes from the same tree, if you will. So that's I didn't want anybody to think that I was like excluding everybody except Christians. That's not what I meant.
People used to come to this country and plan to assimilate to our culture and become an American.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people that immigrate today, they want to establish their own enclaves. So my understanding is there's certain parts of Minnesota and where the Muslims, like, they all live in one area.
Yeah.
And so they sort of take over, and then they're able to elect Muslim leaders.
It's
if you're not a Muslim, you're not safe or welcome in their neighborhood. And it shouldn't be that way.
No, it's happening in Britain too. It's actually been happening in Britain for years.
Right. In fact, the major cities in Britain all have Muslim mayors because a lot of Muslims have moved there, and so it sort of displaces the original culture.
Yeah.
And
and now real quick before we go back to
I was just going to say what we have in America is is good, and I hate to lose it.
Because that's when usually you see again, I'll use the word empire because you can say what you want. Really, that's what we pretty much are. We're just a modern day empire.
Yeah,
But
we are.
when you look at empires fall, go back and look at go back and look at any major empire in history, and then come back and leave a comment and tell us what actually killed that empire. You could say that the Romans were were defeated because they tried to take over too much. They were stretched too far. You could say it was Pompeii, the volcano, that killed it. But was it, or was it the erosion of their society? Is that where it started?
Yeah, moral disintegration, and then all kinds of aliens coming in that wouldn't assimilate.
Yeah. And you can say what you want because the Romans, certainly didn't believe in God or Christ. They crucified him, but they believed in other gods, false gods. But even with that, it wasn't until they started bringing in all these other cultures that they conquered. That's when it started. The erosion of their society was the beginning of the end for the Romans. So that's it does matter. People that come to the country, they need to be want to become Americans. Sorry, I tripped over my words there.
There are books that have chronicled what happened in Rome. One is called The Rise and Fall of the Roman Empire. I think it might be written by Edward G. Gibbons, I think. But yeah, it chronicles that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I'm really thankful that with these No Kings protests that, like Trump, if he needed to send, the National Guard in or troops, he was ready to do that. And I think he learned a lesson, like during his first term, remember the riots?
We
burned down, cities and all that. Well, see, he was saying, hey, it's up to the governors,
I think you and I even kind of held him accountable a little bit when that happened during an episode. I'm pretty sure we were like, Mr. President, why, you should be setting the National Guard in. You can't allow this to be happening.
Well,
so I'm pretty sure
his take was, and I can understand it, hey, that's up to the governors. And if the governors call for my assistance, I'll be there, but they didn't call me. So I think he learned a lesson this round.
Yeah.
Hey, whether the governors call for it or not, I am going to protect our country and keep these, hoodlums from burning the place down. So he learned a lot of lessons. And,
and of course he's in his second term.
So yep.
Yeah, so he doesn't
and he had
have
4 years to think about and plan.
How
do I save our country from destruction?
Yep. It almost worked out better for him having the 4 years of Biden in between. It almost probably worked out better for him.
Yeah. Sometimes God's way of, the way he allows things, it's totally different than we would have expected. But God's right.
Yeah.
He knows more than we do. He knows everything. So
yeah,
that did work to Trump's advantage.
Yeah. Since we were talking about Trump for a minute before we go back to the No Kings protest briefly, what are your thoughts on? Do you have any thoughts on the Epstein issues?
Yeah, there's so much that we don't know. We know a lot of corruption took place there, especially in a perverted way, because Ghislaine, I think I said her name right, Maxwell. She's in prison.
Ghislaine Maxwell, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. And why was Epstein in prison? Well, these sexual offenses and so there obviously was some evil things going on. But the thing is, we don't know what Trump knows.
Yeah.
And there might be some good reason. Maybe, see, if there was anything that would be destructive to Trump, his name and reputation, I'm convinced the Democrats would have brought that out already during the election.
Yeah.
Like, your name is on the list. Well, the Democrats, surely, they were looking for anything they could find. And they, they didn't bring that up. Why not? Well, because there's no evidence he did anything that was wrong. I think his plane broke down one time And so he took, Epstein's plane to Florida from New York. I think that happened one time. And yeah, I'm sure he knew him. But, another take I've heard that.
There's a picture going around. They had met,
Yeah.
as far as I know, like one or two, or like you said, I think maybe three times.
Yeah.
And the picture was not at the island. That was at Trump's
Yeah.
club, Mar-a-Lago.
And
Also,
I heard that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago.
yeah. See, that's also that too.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I'm saying. There was no. But now let me ask you, Pastor,
Right.
what are your thoughts about like the Epstein list kind of being disappearing now? Now,
Well,
we don't have
it could have been that the Democrats, like Biden administration, destroyed the evidence. That could be.
You think?
But another take I've heard is that if somebody was on the list, like in Epstein's contacts, they could have had contact with him and met him and maybe even went to the island, because a lot of famous people did, but they did nothing wrong. So if Trump were to release this list, and it would really cause some people to look bad when they did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Not only would that be an injustice, but that would open the Trump administration and the federal government to massive lawsuits for defamation.
Yeah. So you think
so Pam Bondi may be, as an attorney, saying, hey, people want this stuff released, but if you just release the whole thing without interviewing any accusers, or
without some
there's going to be
context.
massive lawsuits against the Trump administration for
you think
defamation and all that, liability.
So do you think they still maybe have the list and they're just not releasing it or not giving information on it because of potentially those reasons, because it is potentially a complicated case that they have to unwrap. Now, what are your thoughts though? Because my personal opinion is that at some point during Trump's presidency, we have to know what's going on with the Epstein thing. That's my opinion. And I think, and my fear is, with all of that now going away, where now it doesn't exist, the list is gone, or whatever the situation may be, and regardless of the reason, my concern now is that Trump may lose some of his supporters because of this, that it might end up hurting him in the long run. And so that's my other concern. I understand that he's the president, it's president's prerogative. He gets to decide what information is released, not us. But I think at some point he has to do that. He has to do that, in my opinion, at some point during his presidency. We have to know what the facts about that.
It's looking that way.
Yeah, like I mean,
I don't know exactly, when we say the list, what exactly is the list? Is that a list of Epstein's clients? Is it a list of anyone who ever went to the island at all, even for innocent reasons? I don't really know what the list is. Like,
I don't necessarily mean
talk about the list, but
I guess thank you for actually bringing that up, Pastor Gavin, because more what I'm referring to is we know that bad things were happening on his island. We know that, right? So
and people involved should be prosecuted.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Like there has to be something, maybe not a full release of, oh, this was everybody who visited, like you said, maybe not like that, but like something has to come from it, though, is what I'm saying, during his presidency, whether it's people brought up on charges or people arrested, something has to happen in regards to that.
Yeah. It could be that there's still, it could be, we're just speculating now. It could be that they're still investigating and building cases.
That's what I
they're just not ready to release them yet.
Yeah, you can't do that because people are going to leave. People have already left, coincidentally. Nothing to see here, as actors fly off in the wake of the Epstein issue. So, and I think you're right. I think that has
greater good. Yeah, there may be some greater good for our country that Trump is trying to accomplish by delaying, like making some of the stuff public. Like maybe there would be some Republican senators and congressmen that might really look bad, but he needs their votes to save America. So what,
Yeah, we
I,
don't
I
know.
don't
Like,
know. I tend to trust him. I tend to think he's
that's
got some good reasons that he can't explain to the public, but
that was going to be my point. Has Trump in any of his years as president yet given us a reason not to give him the benefit of the doubt as president? I can't think of any.
no.
So there's been only a couple of times where I've really disagreed with how he handled something or a decision he's made. Like, and of course
Yeah.
that's normal too. I'm allowed to disagree with the president and still
Right.
support him.
Yeah, he's human, just like we
Yeah.
are. So he makes mistakes like we do.
And also,
Yeah,
we're not, like you said, we're not the president. We don't have the facts that he has. So maybe he
right.
makes decisions that we would disagree with because he has different information than we have.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
it could be any number of things. But all right, I want to go back to the No Kings Parade. Is that okay with you, Pastor?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Now, the reason that I wanted to bring this up with you is because I thought a lot of the symbology of the No Kings protests was what alarmed me. Not because to me it seemed. I'm sorry. Every time I looked at an image and a still, every time I saw a video, every time I was thinking to myself, this has nothing to do with President Trump being the president or him being a king. I didn't get that feel at all in terms of the image and the symbology that I saw. I didn't get any of that. To me, it was very anti-Christ. That's what struck me about it. That's the vibe I got from it. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm not like, I know that it was like the political left that
Yeah,
were sponsoring the the protests, and were out there protesting, and some of them were getting paid to do it, by the way.
yeah.
So typically, yeah, they are anti-God, they're anti-Christian. In fact, many of them, they just have a hatred for Christianity and for Christians, and their political views are a reflection of their theology. You see, you can't really separate religion and politics, because somebody's
Only to an
theological
extent.
views will affect their political views. So look at our country. Our founding fathers believed in the God of the Bible, and they believed that God created us, and that God gave us these rights. And so, governments were ordained by God to protect these God-given rights. So their politics reflected their theology. That's why, in the Declaration of Independence, they said, we hold these truths to be self-evident. All men are created equal, and they're endowed by their creator, with these rights. And
Unalienable rights. Yep.
yep. So to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. I mean, it's their Judeo-Christian theology affecting their politics. So it's the same. You have wicked, godless people, and they are anti-Christian. So that leads them to line up with the left, especially the hard left, like the people protesting,
Yeah.
and the Trump haters. I can understand why some people might not like Trump's personality. I can understand that, because sometimes he's very bold and brash, and he
Yep.
says
He's abrasive.
he says things that are rude and will hurt people's feelings.
He does,
But
and
so
that's
what?
he also
He's a
does these
human.
things. He also does these things intentionally, which is, I think, is what turns off a lot of people to him. But you got to think, with everything that Trump's gone through, he's either doing it to have a little fun, so
Yeah,
like, or he's doing it to show you how outrageous they are.
yeah, yeah.
Just because
Right.
he calls them a name, they have to go up in arms and freak out. He's
Yeah,
doing it intentionally to show you.
yeah.
So you
But
may not
that
like him,
same, yeah, that
but he does.
same boldness
Yeah.
and like sort of rudeness helps them to really stand up for our country and face our enemies with boldness.
Yes.
And so, yeah, I just don't get this, what some people call Trump derangement syndrome. They hate his guts, and Trump can do nothing right. I mean, in their view, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not perfect, but
No.
he's done so much good
Yeah,
for our
he's done
country.
way more good than bad. Yeah, and standing
Yeah,
up to foreign leaders is just the very tip of the iceberg. You know, the immigration issue. Like, there's so much. Yeah, he's doing a lot that is actually good
yeah.
for our country.
Now, let me say this about the big, beautiful bill. And this is just my view. Yeah, there's some pork in it. I think they still spent too much, but they needed to pass it because, for one thing, it made permanent the tax cuts that were put in place during Trump's first administration. There is an expiration date coming up on those. Then our federal taxes would have increased. I think it was like 64%
That's
on
ridiculous.
average.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we needed to build a pass for that alone. But then the big fat beautiful bill would fund the border security and deporting the illegal aliens and
Yes.
criminals and gang members and stuff. So yeah, just they can. I don't think they cut enough. I don't think they. Well, I can see why Elon Musk was frustrated because he
Yeah.
worked with Doge to cut waste and government spending and fraud and abuse, and comes up with all these cuts, and then they still spent too much money. So here he took all that time and effort and had Teslas and Tesla dealerships attacked, and the stock prices started to go down for Tesla. And yeah, I
Yeah.
can understand why he was tiffed at that. And they didn't cut the spending like they should have. So
Yeah.
I understand his gripe, in that regard.
Yeah.
But still, they can refine some of these things later. They can pass other bills that would claw back wasteful spending. Like I love the idea of cutting off funding to PBS. Why do we need to have a government funded television station?
You
How
think?
many television stations are there? You know,
True.
why
True.
why
And the other argument to that is that some of the shows like Sesame Street and stuff could certainly survive on their own at this
yeah,
point without government
right.
I can't get the word out. So
Subsidiz subsidization.
yes, thank you. Without
Subsidizing.
that,
Yeah,
yeah, without
yeah,
that. So I think, I mean, it could easily survive on its own. So I do agree with you with that. And with programming now, I mean, I think they're looking at the wrong thing. I don't think PBS needs to be subsidized. I think internet needs to be addressed now. I mean, I think there's no reason why anybody in America shouldn't be able to get on the internet, even at the library, or have a wireless connection that they can access from their home. Even if it's not like a great connection or a fast connection, there should be a way for everybody to be able to just get on and access the internet in
yeah,
today's day and age, in my opinion, at this point.
yeah, yeah.
So, and yeah, you're right about that, the PBS thing, and the whole Doge and Elon Musk thing. Yeah, I'm not sure what their little tiff was, or dust up was, but I don't see that being a real lasting thing.
And what if? Okay, this is way out there, but what if it's fake? Like
Yeah, I saw
they're
that
not.
too.
What if not really that angry
There-
at one another? It's just that maybe if Elon Musk acts real angry and you know breaks off his friendship and kinship with Trump, then maybe his stock prices will go up and
Yeah,
people will stop attacking Teslas. And
yeah.
you know,
I thought that too.
what if it is? I
I
don't
like
know if it
I'd
is or
like to
not.
propose something else to you, Pastor, because this is something else, and I'm glad I remembered to bring it up with you here. His company, SpaceX, and his other companies and stuff. Elon Musk is going to be the one that introduces chips into people, Pastor. Right?
Mm, yeah,
Is that not? We've discussed this, I think, before. That's going to be the mark of the beast, right?
that could very easily be the mark of the beast. Yeah.
I don't see. Yeah, in my opinion, I don't see how.
I
I
mean,
don't
well,
see
let
how
me say
big.
it this way. that could very easily be the method by which the mark of the beast could be introduced through chips, that
Yeah,
would be inserted into the skin. Yeah, it's in
yeah.
itself, it's not the mark of the beast, but that system could be the mark of the beast could be implemented through that type of
You don't think
technology.
you don't think that the actual implementing of a chip into your skin is the mark of the beast?
No, because it
Really?
would have to be associated with the number 666, and where you would need to bow down and worship the image of the beast in order to receive it.
Is that right?
So yeah. So yes, it's I believe it could be the very vehicle that the mark of the beast would be implemented through. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just curious about that because I always just
Like,
I
okay, there are people today who got, I think in Sweden, like a lot of people have a chip implanted in their arm or in their hand.
yeah, and it's
So
usually
they
in
have,
the left
yeah,
wrist or hand. Yeah,
yeah. So that's the kind of technology the mark of the beast would, probably implement. But
but
those people don't have the mark of the beast, not yet. But they're embracing the technology that could
okay,
be
that's interesting. So
yeah,
okay. It's just I always thought because the way without the mark of the beast, you won't be able to like exist in the economy. You won't be able to buy
yeah,
or sell goods or receive
right,
paychecks or all of this. So to me,
right.
the chip in the
So it's
wrist to
paving the
me
way for it. Yeah.
screams mark of the beast,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah,
with
I mean,
where
I'm
they're
not
implementing.
saying there's no relationship
Yeah,
because,
yeah.
there is.
But you're
I'm
saying
just
that
saying
there's
the actual mark of the beast, you'll get the number of his
it's
name.
not just a matter of getting the chip. It can't.
Yeah.
What you're saying is it
Right.
can't be just a matter of getting the chip. So
Yeah.
by accepting the chip, if you were somebody who accepted the chip into your wrist, that's not accepting the mark of the beast.
Right. But I don't
That-
want any of those things because I don't
no,
even want to come close to
no,
it.
me neither. No,
They
me
put
neither.
them in dogs and cats.
Yeah,
So like, and
mostly are chips.
there's
That
some
makes sense to me.
Alzheimer's patients, dementia patients that
Yeah.
have, like Joe Biden, sort of they've lost their thinking powers,
Oh man, I hope Joe Biden
and
has a GPS
so
tracker on
like
him somewhere.
if they would somehow wander out of the nursing home, they
Yeah,
have the
so they can
chip,
find
and
them.
then they could easily identify them. Yeah, so
Yeah,
that technology in itself is not wrong, but yeah, it sure
interesting.
looks like that's what the mark of the beast is going to use
Well, I'm
to
glad.
implement that system.
Yeah, I'm glad that we just clarified that. I did not realize that there was like a whole ceremony. Like it was actually the accepting of the mark of the beast. Like you knew that that's what you were accepting. I always thought that they could just trick you. That's why I was so anti getting a chip because I'm like, no, I'm not getting the mark of. I know that that is the mark of the beast, so I'm not going to get
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
um,
Yeah, well, see, there's a place in the Revelation where it says, if any man worship the beast and receive in his mark or in his forehead the number of his name, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. So, my understanding is that you'll need the mark to buy or sell at some point during the Great Tribulation, but you will not get that mark unless you worship the image of the beast. So you worship the image of the beast, and then they
gotcha.
give you the mark, and then you
Good
know,
clarification then for everybody, including
yeah,
myself.
yeah.
Okay.
But I
All
still
right.
don't want any of those chips. I don't even want to get close to anything like that.
No,
That would
no,
be
me
even
neither.
resemble getting the mark.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Technology is getting to be a little bit. I mean, it's like nobody's seen Terminator, Pastor Gavin.
Hmm.
It's like nobody has bothered. It's like I mean, it was one of the biggest movies. The first two movies were some of the biggest movies, and then there was a bunch more after that. And it's like
Hmm.
people forget.
Yeah,
They think it can't happen.
yeah.
If people really think that the Terminator movie Skynet can't happen, I'm sorry, I got news for you.
Hmm.
It absolutely can.
Yeah.
So, and God will certainly let us destroy ourselves. As Pastor Gavin takes another sip from his custom engraved Boiling Point podcast tumbler, I think that's where we're going to wrap it up. We
Right.
talked about a good number of stuff, and this episode went significantly longer than I thought it was going to. We talked about a lot of good stuff. But it was a good episode, and it was great to have one of these again, Pastor. We've been so busy with the series, with the Old Testament survey series, that we haven't gotten to, have one of these kind of discussions and talks in a while. So,
yeah.
And of
So
course,
for our guests listening, the Old Testament survey, I just take each book of the Old Testament in the Bible and do a general bird's eye overview, just a general summary of the contents of each book in the Old Testament. So,
and then we do the after show, the Old Testament survey analysis. So make sure you check that out. We have shot all of those, so the remainder of those are shooting, and we should still have another week or two yet, if I'm not mistaken, before the ending of the Old Testament survey.
And then at some point we'll do the New Testament. Then.
Yes, we will. Pastor Gavin and I are going to be filming the New Testament survey this fall to release it next year in early 2026. We want to release it in the first quarter of 2026. So we're going to shoot it in fall of 2025. Having learned our lesson from the Old Testament survey series, we're going to shoot the majority of the series, or all of it, if possible, before we start releasing episodes, because we decided to do that halfway through the Old Testament survey, and which was what the delay was. That's why there was such a delay there between the before the last, I think it was 15 or so books of the Old Testament survey. We decided this doesn't work, where we're shooting 3 or 4 and then we post them and then we shoot again. Like, it just wasn't working. So works much better if we shoot all of the episodes and then we have them ready to be released, rather than shoot and release at the same time. So that's what we're going to do with the New Testament survey. So once we do start releasing the New Testament survey, there won't be any breaks or intermissions or anything like that. They'll just be released every week. And they're going to release at the same day and time on both Pastor Gavin and I's channels, because that was also too complicated trying to release them on different channels at different times. That doesn't work either. So they release on both channels at the same time. They release on Pastor Gavin's channel as well. Pastor Gavin, I just was checking you out. In fact, real quick before we close out, I'm going to check one more time real quick. I'm just curious. We got Pastor Gavin over to 100 YouTube viewers, followers, and he's at 108 currently. So make sure you go subscribe to his YouTube channel and check that out. We want to, now that we got him over 100, we want to get him to 150. So he's currently at 108. So go and subscribe and share out his channel so that we can get him some more followers. And of course, we are on YouTube also. You can just search the Boiling Point Podcast. We're on Facebook, of course. Change in our Facebook. Facebook changed their live policy. So live episodes on Facebook only stay up for about 30 to 45 days, and then they're removed. So if you want to see an old live episode of ours, you need to go to our YouTube or Rumble channels right now. With this new Facebook policy, we're not sure how we're going to handle live episodes on Facebook. So, but you can always go to Rumble and YouTube. Rumble, of course, is the only place that has all of our episodes in their entirety. Rumble.com/C/The Boiling Point Podcast. Hit that subscribe button, or the follow button, I think is what it is on Rumble. And you'll be notified when we release new episodes. Pastor Gavin, thank you for joining me to finish off our season 5 finale. It's kind of a thing that you kind of joined me to close out our seasons. So I appreciate that you were able to take the time to close out our season 5. Thank you all for joining us.
Thanks to our listeners. Yeah,
absolutely. Thanks to our viewers and listeners. And even though I'm supposed to be taking off in August, we will still be doing the West Shore School District and the Northern School Board meetings. And we may even have 1 or 2 episodes, even though I'm supposed to be taking off. So don't look for a lot of content, but we will be still doing a couple of things until September, until next season, September or so, when we do another episode. That's when we will see you again. Pastor Gavin is our senior faith correspondent and senior producer, and pretty much partner with Ms. Pa and I on the Boiling Point Podcast. And I am the founder and president and host of the Boiling Point Podcast. And this has been episode 127. And that's the end.